Welcome back to In the Side of the Storm, where we talk all things Cyclones. We are live and sponsored by Rebelton Distillery out of Osceola, Iowa. I'm Dave Larson here with my Storm team partners and Cyclone great Marcus Spicer, along with Chris Shipley. Gentlemen, how are we tonight?
Doing well, feeling good about these Cyclones for sure.
What a fun weekend it's been. And we've got another game tonight, so we're going to make sure we're out of here to be able to get back and watch the women's game that comes on at 9 o'clock Central. Marcus, what's that, 7 o'clock your time?
Yeah, 7 o'clock my time. Still going to be a little piece of daytime. As you can see, I'm still, illuminated with all of the great sunshine coming in from behind me. So looking forward to it.
And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, Marcus is sitting there and it looks like he's in heaven with this angelic view behind him of whiteness.
Oh. Far from being God, but I work goddamn hard.
Well, before we get too far into this, we do want to talk some women's hoops and men's hoop. But first, let's give a shout out to David Carr. Won the national championship for the second time last night at 165 for the Cyclones. Man. What a match that he had. Just incredible job out of him. Between he and his father, they've won 5 national championships together for the Cyclones.
Yeah. Wow, it's big time.
So as we're seeing some video here of his match last night, he got up big, but he really came out very aggressive in that first period and had a lot of riding time that put him over the top. And just a great match here by David Carr, representing Cyclone Nation quite well.
Yeah, we year after year, we always have some great, wrestling athletes. And that's one of the things that I always talk about. With me, a lot of people always want to talk about basketball and football, but I always mention our wrestling program. And if it's someone that I see walking around, cauliflower ear, which is a badge of honor. I talked to them, asked them what school they went to, where they wrestle at, and whenever I mention Iowa State, they always have some great things to say.
Well, in Iowa State wrestling, Harold Nichols was a long time. You could look him up, long-time coach at Iowa State. And I remember my first days and weeks on campus walking by on Welch Avenue towards the towers where I lived. Chris Shipley was taking the bus, but I was walking.
You just got to take a shot, don't you?
You were walking in those white New Balance leather shoes.
I was.
But you look over, and I don't remember the cross street. I think it was Storms, but there was that's where the old wrestling facility was, I believe, for many years. And you look at it today, the difference in what they're moving into in a few years, taking over that Iowa, what's that? The AAU, or not AAU, but the basketball. Thank you, Marcus. Yeah. The Iowa Tax Center that's up there, that field house.
Yeah,
it's a night and day difference of where this program has come and where Kevin Dresser has taken this program. Even this year, we ended up being finishing 4th place, just a shade above the Iowa Hawkeyes, a program that we obviously measure ourselves against. But now we're shooting for number 1. It's time to take down Penn State, and led by former coach Cale Sanderson.
Hey, we understand why that program is what it is at Penn State.
Right.
That's my guy. I used to call him 1,000,000 whenever I seen him, walking around campus, because, he was a basketball fan. We would talk all the time, and I'm like, man, like, you talking about us, like, the things you do is incredible. So definitely love to have that heritage with Iowa State athletics with him. And, he's one of the persons that I talk about a lot as well.
I'll tell you what, that wrestling program, this was the first year that I had went up there and watched a wrestling meet in person. They are so top notch with just the whole production around that meet and things like that. The crowd was pumped. Now we wrestled Iowa in that meet, but I'll tell you what, Kevin Dresser's got the program going in the right direction. There's no doubt about that. And the beauty of it is they're sinking money into the program. They're going to put them in that facility, and that's only just going to bring more and more eyes to the program and more athletes.
Well, and David Carr leaves Iowa State then with 120-5 record, fourth best winning percentage in school history.
Wow.
Again, 2-time national champion, 4-time NCAA All-American. So kudos to David Carr. Job well done.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Dave.
For sure. Yep. No
So
doubt is
we can we talk a little bit of Audi Crooks? We're going to be watching her a little bit tonight, but 40 points in the game the other night. Just an incredible showing by the Cyclone women. You know, I have to admit, I thought they were done against Maryland, and they just came back and took it to them. Just an impressive showing.
Yeah, the dynamic of being able to watch Coach Freeze and Coach Finley do, you know, that have that head-to-head matchup after all those years, you know, it fueled into the mystique of it all. And for them to be down big, you know, to be watching the game and them fighting their way back, and you know, Audie just doing what she's, you know, been doing all year. It definitely gave me chills, you know, to watch that game and to see it unfold. Same, you know, coaching tree, you know, same kind of, you know, strategies and things like that to win the ball game. And hate to see, you know, Coach Freeze lose, but absolutely, you know, love to see Iowa State win and to continue on in this tournament. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Marcus, did you have one of those games where you just felt it? She just seemed the entire team was in the zone in that fourth quarter. Really, the third quarter is what brought it back. But did you ever have one of those games?
I had a few. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I had a few. But the flip side of it, you have those games where it felt like nothing is going to go in. I remember playing against Missouri one year, and like I told Jamal Tinsley, man, like I just can't figure it out. It was a home game against ESPN, and I think he had his first triple-double that year, and we got the win. But you know, some games you just are like that, and then once we're rolling, or if I'm rolling, they're trying to feed me to death. Like, you know, against Kansas, that shot down there in Kansas, there's no when I locked eyes with Kentrell Horton, I said, he is going to pass me this ball. I knew he's going to pass me this ball. And he's the guard. He has it out top. I thought he's going to, you know, do something with it. But when we locked eyes, I said, oh, he's going to pass me this ball. I got to get it up. And as soon as I got it, you know, from the rhythm that I was in, you know, I tell people all the time, I was going glass. My sight was going glass. Eric Chenoweth was guarding me. 7'1", long reach. I couldn't see the rim at all. I was going glass, but somehow, you know, with the oral that I have behind me now, it must have went in. So the rest is history.
They were down 16 at half.
Yeah.
And literally made up that difference in the third quarter. They outscored them 30-14 in the fourth quarter. They literally wiped that entire lead away by the end of the third quarter.
I believe at one time they were down. Weren't they down 50-30?
I maybe, but at the end of the half, it was they were down 33-20 in the second half, and then 19 they were outscored 3 more points in the second half. They were in the second quarter. So they were down 16 at half.
Yeah, once she's rolling, I mean, she's hard to deal with. And then to be a freshman, that's the thing that's scary to me. To be a freshman playing this well early, you know, to get into collegiate sports and to figure it out. It's always a great thing to see the progression of it all. But man, you know, this offseason, you know, like many have seen now when I tweeted that I would love to work with her, give her a couple of pointers, see a few things that, you know, we can work on, maybe extending her range out a little bit. But man, the sky's going to be the limit with this young lady, and there's going to be some fun years ahead to be able to watch that.
I think her freshman season is ended. She's moved on to her sophomore year here in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, she's playing like it. She's playing like a vet for sure.
I'll tell you what I love is the fact that now the country sees what she is. Like she's gotten the Big 12 press and whatever else, but playing on the stage now that she's on now, and the national pundits now seeing her and seeing what she can do is just, you know, it can only be better for her. And she gets hammered all the time down there. And I remember when Orr coached Victor Alexander, and he would say, just because he's a bigger guy doesn't mean he's not getting fouled. Like, just because she can take a foul doesn't mean she's not getting fouled. I mean, you got to call that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
I know, right? I know, right?
But I mean, I totally get what you're saying. Throughout my career, my shoulders, like the top of the points of my shoulders, were always, sore because, going up to the basket, a lot of smaller guards, like Doug Ali, will reach, for my, my inner arms and try to grab you and hold you. And so, like, trying to power up through it, even powering up through it, you still, it's that, jerk reaction. And so my shoulders will always, but, I will always yell at the referees, like, okay, if it's going to happen, it's going to be a foul, at least reward me for it. Because if I'm just getting 2 points off of it, I'd rather be able to get 3 and be like, okay, well, at least I got the and one. But I yelled and one far more than me getting, the foul. So that's the thing that, as bigs, we always complain about. Shaq always complained about it. They feel like everyone should be able to ride Zach Edey, because he's bigger. But, after a while, you get tired of all of those, ticky-tack fouls and things like that. We're not asking you to move out the way, but we're just asking you to, if you're not stronger than me, then that's not my fault.
So in looking at her game, Marcus, obviously she's had a really successful freshman year. One of the greatest in women's basketball, period. Mm-hmm. What types of things, and you hate to turn the corner because we still have more games to play, big one tonight. What types of things do you hope to see out of a sophomore version of Audi Cricks? Is it that expanding her range? Is it some things that you like to see down low with her post up? What types of things do you think that will be the focus as she heads into her sophomore year? Much like Taman from his freshman to his sophomore year.
Yeah. Just focus. I'm a big believer in focusing on the things that you don't do well. The things that you do well, we know you can do well. And, there's no surprise. Like, I've been seeing some of the different things, that I have mentally said to myself what I would do if I was on the court with her to show her, a couple moves. If it's when you're in the post, fake like you're going to go to get the defense to react and then go. And then when they try to counter you from going that way, the way that you fake, you go back to that way because now they're on the other side. So the little things like that. Extended range can be as much as, shooting a better free throw percentage. Once you realize the distance from there around the horn, short corner and things like that is the same distance, then you start to understand, the parameters of how to get better. But like I said, being able to work on the things that you're not good at, that's what practice is. Also, sprinkling in the things that you are good at in the midst of training is how you continuously grow. So there's no one thing that, we feel like we should pull out to the 3-point line. That's not important. A baller is a baller. Like I've said many times, like if they made it a legal way for me to kick the ball into the hoop, I would have found a way to kick it in. You're not gonna. He can shoot. He can, post. He can jump hook. Whatever. I'm just a scorer. Putting the ball in the hole is what I did, and I'm good at showing other people how to do that. But I'm not going to focus on just doing that. I'm focusing on the different things to help her and the team, drawing fouls. That's very, very important. 25% of my game was just to draw a foul. There's instances where I penetrated or went and a foul wasn't called, and now I'm stuck in the area where, I didn't assume I was going to be here because I thought they was going to call a foul. Now we got a counter from that. And so those are the little things that I look forward to possibly helping her with.
Do you remember some of the things that you worked on between your freshman year and your sophomore year?
Geez, Dave, that was about 30 years ago.
You went home and worked with your brother throwing him a football, but
but my freshman and sophomore year, I had Larry Eustacia that came in, and when he came in, like, he really opened it up a lot for me. He started allowing me to shoot threes because he can see my shooting ability that I had. But having Mike Nurse that was going to put up 75 of them a game, we really didn't need me out there shooting as many. And then Kentrell can shoot it. Mel will make a 3-pointer every once in a while. Brandon Hawkins and on down the list with, Martine and everyone else. So we just worked on a lot of different things that I had to eventually at the end of the season bring out in order for us to be a little bit more successful. I'm not going to lie, at the end of the Big 12, I started shooting a lot more threes because, the players – we're in the Big 12. We know that's the best and toughest conference in the nation in the form of basketball. So players started getting bigger. They started riding on me a lot more fouls and things like that. So in order to have the longevity and the energy to be able to compete more, I started to focus more on the threes and things like that. And then when I knocked down one or two of those, now they're out on me a little bit slower than me a foot, so I can blow by them and, make things happen that way.
Well, I think Audi is certainly she will shoot that outside shot. That's not a regular part of her game, and nor does it need to be because they have outside shooters. I think one of the great things that this entire team does well, they pass the ball well. They look for the open girl. There's a lot of dribble penetration by Emily Ryan. Then they'll dish it to if the defender sucks up on them, they'll pass it to the open player. That's why I think both teams do that very well.
Yeah. Yeah, we're always going to be extremely well coached. It's not about one player, even though you may have a star on a team, but it's going to flow naturally throughout, the entire game. If like I said earlier, if she doesn't have it going, if I didn't have it going, then we're going to, I know the double team is going to come, and I know Mike Nurse is going to be in the other corner or top of the key, and he's going to knock it down. Then that's going to get me more comfortable. I'm going to get a couple foul shots and, get in the rhythm that way. So it's always going to be together in terms of a team aspect with us at Iowa State. And, that's one of the great things we like to witness while we're watching these ball games being played.
Do you think that's a concerted effort now by the coaching staff, now that you've seen her pump in 40 points? Is that something that they continue to try to feed her? Is that something that just because the Maryland personnel, that's what was available this particular game?
I think it's the understanding of knowing that she's rolling, and let's see what we got. But at the same time, it is a personnel thing. There was a string where, I think I scored 30-some points in 4 or 5 games in a row. And, they were trying to get it to me and they were feeding it to me. But it also was a matchup thing where, Chris Mihm and some other players I can take off the dribble and pass them or be quicker than them and things like that. So whatever it calls for, whoever's rolling to get the win, man, at this time is win or go home. So it's,
Right.
Whatever accolades that you've gotten throughout the season, you can put that, on the shelf, and it's time to do what we got to do to advance to the next stage. And it's simply that.
I would like to give you guys an update here. Mr. Doug Gottlieb has responded.
Oh,
finally, huh?
To a tweet. I retweeted our broadcast and said, day 4 of asking you if you want to come on and talk to Marcus about basketball. And he said anytime. So I'm working out some details at the moment. So.
That'd be fantastic. A little walk down memory lane for both Marcus.
That's right.
Yeah, Dougie was tough. No, there's no doubt about that. Like he really brought that aspect to the game. Like he was one of the top point guards in the nation for a couple of years, because he took care of the ball, he made assists, and he just had that hard-nosed toughness that, he wasn't going to back down from anyone. And
that guy's a bulldog. I mean, I just remember you watch him play and you hated him, but then you thought, if he's on my team, I would love the guy.
Now the rumor has it, and that's one of the questions we should ask, is that he wore his shoe size 2 sizes too small. Like that's what I was hearing when we were in school. That wherever size shoe he wore like 2 sizes too small, and that's what kept him never stopping and moving and keep moving all over the floor. Now, eventually, here we are 20 years later, we're old men, got kids in our 20s and stuff like that. So we're going to ask him, how true is this? But, I mean, that's what I heard.
Well, most players just wear an extra layer of socks. You're saying he just wore smaller shoes.
That's what I heard. He wore just a size 2 sizes too small in his shoes. And I remember thinking to myself, That could make sense the way he acts out here. But well, we will see. At that time, I mean, we were peers, we were competitors. Going against each other. I wasn't going to stop him asking that question. I asked him one day farther down in life, and maybe we have the opportunity now.
There we go.
Well, and before we transition over to the men's side, Lindsay Fennelly, congratulations to her, was named to the Iowa State Hall of Fame. Nice. She'll be inducted this fall. I believe I read that there's now 6 finalists that will be inducted. So congratulations to former women's great Lindsay Fennelly. Let's take a quick word or hear a quick word from our sponsor, Revelton Distillery, and then we'll come back and talk a little men's basketball.
Why take the best corn in the world and make it into fuel when you could make it into whiskey? That's the question that launched Revelton, Iowa's most visible and fastest growing distillery. Owners Rob and Christy Taylor embrace the grain-to-glass philosophy, sourcing ingredients locally and overseeing on-premises production and bottling at their facility in Osceola. One sip and you'll agree that Revelton's handcrafted whiskeys, gins, and vodkas are the best you've ever tasted. And with the launch of their rye whiskey, made with 100% Iowa-grown rye and corn, and their new bourbon coming soon, there's more Revelton to love than ever. Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com.
All right, thanks to Rob and Chrissy Taylor for their great sponsorship of the Three Beards Media and this show in particular, Inside the Storm. Basketball. Can we take a step back? First, yes, I finally was able to get my championship hat.
Nice.
I have a son who is a student at Iowa State, picked this up at the university bookstore. It's a Zephyr hat. If I can't say one thing, the mesh is not very good. It feels like that cheap Chinese, but I'm wearing it because, I mean, how often do you win a Big 12 championship?
Well, for us, quite a bit.
We win quite out. Yeah, I guess.
When we get to the championship game, we are 6-0.
That's right.
I mean, to brag a little bit, but we're going to brag.
I was really disappointed. We had some interesting text exchanges that ultimately Iowa State ended up really the eighth seed, right? The fourth number 2 seed were in the same. UConn was named as the overall number 1. We ended up in the same region as UConn. I'm not buying it. I know that they talked about strength of schedule, but you got to let your eyes look. We ended up in the final poll being number 4. How a number 4 team ends up as the number 8 seed in the tournament just doesn't make sense when we were number 7 in the latest poll. Then we ended up winning 3 straight games. We destroyed Houston 69-41. And remember, Virginia, they played in their play-in game, and they lost by an almost identical score. Tony Bennett got eviscerated. There's nothing about us and nothing about Houston. I'm not buying it. We should have been and I'm not upset that we were not a 1 seed. That's not my problem. But we should have been a 5, 6, or 7
overall seed.
Seed. Absolutely. This number 8 seed, it still chews at me. Now, if we walk away going to the Final Four, I'll be happy. But I'm not happy right now, although the men are playing very well at the moment.
Yeah, they are playing well. But, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that because you want to argue strength of schedule, same thing they did with us. But just like this team with the toughest conference in the nation, we held our own through this conference. We finished second, and then when we got down to the Big 12 tournament, completely dominated. We're going to say dominated the number 1 overall. The number 1 overall seed in our tournament and in our conference, handedly, and then we get the number 8 overall in the NCAA tournament. So maybe that's something we're not going to say TJ didn't talk to them about, but I guarantee you he talked to them about, and they've been playing as such. So,
yep.
Whatever the route is, whatever the journey is, we love it. We're going to take it. We do have a tough game ahead of us, but like I said, we're not running from any kind of smoke. We're familiar with a few players on that team, but we just got to do what we got to do to get to the next stage.
Let me ask you a question about Keyshawn, because in that first game, he got a little chirping at, and I think he kind of took over the game late in that second half. I don't imagine that he's the kind of guy that you want to chirp at.
No. And this
Right.
is Marcus Houston sitting on the couch right here, right now. I was chirping at him, coaching against him when he was in the 9th or 10th grade in AAU against Marcus Jr. and his team, and he just completely took the game over. And I think his dad was coaching their team. And so he was going back and forth at me like I was on the court. And that type of energy I love. And his dad came up to me and talked to me afterwards, and he was like, no disrespect, OG, he's and I told him, I said, man, I love that. I would love to have that kid on my team. And this was years ago before he even committed to UNLV, and definitely never seen him ending up at the university that I love and I played for. So like I've said before, I've seen this kid, with just nails on the court every single time. Now he's not going to go out there and score, Steph Curry points and put up, but he's going to give you what you need and what you want, and you're not going to rattle him at all. Not going to rattle him at all. He's a little bit quieter than what I'm used to, but maybe it's a different atmosphere and understanding the dynamic of it all and leading this team. And man, I'm telling you, it's a great thing. I'm so proud where he's come from and where he's at now and how he's continuing to grow.
He continues to impress me just because the kid has absolutely zero conscience or care in the world. Like, he could make a terrible pass or make a terrible turnover, and the next time down the court, he will not hesitate to go down the lane and make a pass again or make a shot. He's unconscious when it comes to that. And frankly, I'm a little impressed with it, right? Like, got a little bit of killer in.
Right, a little bit. Jamal Tinsley was a lot like that. We used to hear a whole, Mel, what the hell are you doing? And he didn't care. And then the next level is Mike Nurse. You talking about somebody who didn't care. It didn't matter what I said, Stevie Johnson said, Larry Stacey, Leonard Perry, nobody. It didn't matter what nobody said. He was gonna go out there. Mike can miss 7 threes in a row. That 8th coming, he's gonna put it up one more time and gonna knock it down, and the rest is gonna be history from that. So from there, seeing a young kid be able to come into from a UNLV conference to a Big 12 conference, that was my biggest thing that I was concerned about in the beginning. But I don't have any qualms with him at all. I'm totally impressed and proud with the showing that he's been giving us.
Well, and he plays at that Mach 10 nonstop, offense and defense. There are times he's a little bit out of control, but you take what you can get, right? And when he dials it back just a notch to that Mach 9, he's still an incredible player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's helped Taman a whole lot. I tweeted the other day, I love the way he's shooting the ball. And Keyshawn is a better shooter than him. And when you're in iron sharpens iron, when you're in practice and you're training, you don't want to keep going through the situation where you're getting beat in these shooting games and blown out in these shooting games like that. That makes you better. I said my freshman year when me and Megan Taylor came in and we used to be at the rec, shooting. I mean, my jump shot was all right. She was a 3-point shooter. We was playing the game to 21 and she was kicking my butt. And I was like, nah, man, we can't keep doing this. I got to try to figure out, how to get better. I never caught up to her with wins and losses, but, that right there for my freshman year is one of the things that helped me get better as a shooter. So it's always nice to see.
The legend of Megan Taylor continues on. So Iowa State won that first game against South Dakota State 82-65. Then last night defeated Washington State, sending them into the Sweet 16 for the second time in 3 years. I found this astonishing that TJ's the first coach to do that. As many times as much success that we've seen out of the men's program and the women's for that matter, I was amazed by that fact that he's the only one to have gone to the Sweet 16, the only coach.
Twice.
Twice.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that was a little surprising to me as well. There was not a lot of names on the list. I guess unfortunately that 2001 team with, the missed shot by Jamal was we felt like that team could have went pretty deep. But yeah, that was surprising to me. I saw TJ name with 2 and the rest of the names were just had 1. And I was like, that's interesting. But, shout out to, what he's done, and he's definitely deserved it without a doubt.
Denny with the shade to Iowa's down 7 with 5 minutes left in the not in the tournament in IT.
Again, I'm surprised they still have a basketball program, but good for them.
Well, and they're going to miss out on their coach in waiting too, because Darren DeVries just took the West Virginia job. So
that's going to be a nice addition to the Big 12 conference. He's a great coach. I'm impressed.
Yeah. I would say that what they did with Luka Garza there, and I can't think of the twins' name. Chris and
Murray,
the merge, like
Keegan
those guys can play. They can really play. So they were a bright spot in the last couple of years for them. I enjoyed watching them play, even though I wasn't rooting for them to win without a doubt. It don't matter who they were playing, but I enjoy watching, especially skilled bigs or bigs, be able to have success. So they're going now.
And Iowa State fans came in full force in Omaha. They just packed that arena.
Absolutely.
And some of the stories coming out of there has been quite amazing. Our friends at We Well and Westo Beer that makes Ames Lager, apparently it just one of their locations at Beer Can Alley, I think it sounds like it's a 2-bar setup. They sold 212 cases or 5,088 cans of beer. Wow. Over the course of 4 or 5 days in Omaha.
Yep. Beer Can Alley, owned by Teddy Holly, host of Ball Don't Lie on the Three Beers Media Network, by the way.
Oh, well done.
There you go.
Do they sell any waters?
I don't think so. Cyclone Nation doesn't drink water, Marcus. So can we transition to big men and talk about why Brent's not here?
Yeah. So for many of us,
he just texted me, by the way. Just watched a car roll crazy out here in Nebraska. For you guys not wanting to know, Brent's in a car in the middle of Nebraska. Right
so Brent is driving back, and we watch a lot of basketball this weekend. We think we know where he was, and Chris has some live video, or I guess it's not live; it's tape video of Brent in action, apparently playing in a game yesterday for NC State.
Telling you, man, it's his doppelganger. This number 30 is Brent.
Brent is using his COVID year for good and lacing it up for the NC State Wolfpack, who had to win their tournament, the ACC tournament, to get into the big dance. And now they've won 2 games and now are in the Sweet 16 themselves. So we may not see Brent next weekend either.
Hey, I'm big biased. I've watched this team throughout the year, and I knew that they were dangerous once. I called that first game against who they play, St. Mary's. Yeah, I said, they're gonna win that game and make it deep. I could just tell, and like I said, I'm big biased. A big man with good footwork, being able to put the ball in the hole. Without a doubt, I love to see them go further. And like we say, he's like Brent, got good footwork, quickness, good feet, pivots, and things like that. Hey, we hadn't seen him in a couple weeks. Maybe that is him. He's been putting in work.
And speaking of big men, I think that Twitter sort of lit up this afternoon with some eyes on our coaching staff, but all reports out of eastern side of the state is that Caden Proctor has entered the transfer portal again without ever playing a single game or practice for the Iowa Hawkeyes. And apparently we've got some members of our coaching staff that is now following Mr. Proctor. So that's somewhat interesting to see.
Well, that seems to be deliberate, huh?
It sounds like it. Now,
they're not following him just for the fun of it. I can't imagine.
Oh, although I found it interesting because, when we had Coach Mouse on last week, he made reference about the importance of relationships and not being that active. We're going to be somewhat active, but we're not going to be truly that active in the portal. And for us, it's not about the money. You want to come here and play. We're not shelling out cash. That's just not what we're about. So I found that intriguing. I don't see him coming, but could you imagine the holes that he could open up for the running game that Mouse had talked about as well? That he wants to focus on the running game next year. And boy, you add that to the game, and there's going to be a lot of weapons that will be able to get the ball next season if that were to occur. Although we all think he's going back to Alabama.
Well, let's give the kid a second though. He, according to Brad Heinrichs, who runs the Swarm Collective, the only money that he got was the money that he got from an NIL deal with a car dealership that he worked for. Swarm didn't give him any money yet.
That he worked for.
Yeah, so so I think he did a commercial for them or something like that for a car dealership, and then they paid him through that. But as far as just a straight cash check to Caden Proctor from the Swarm Collective, Swarm claims they've never paid him. So I don't know. I mean, did he take money and then run? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not about money about him. We're forgetting that his good friend Abu Sama played with him at Southeast Polk as well. Everybody was like, well, Xavier Wampum played with him, and that's why he wanted to go back to Iowa to be with his buddy. Abu's sitting there in Ames, and there's certainly room on the offensive line. I'm just saying.
I get warm fuzzies thinking about it. I'll tell you that. I know, right? I think it's girlfriend. I don't think it has anything to do with money. Something just tells me a girlfriend up here, something happened. Just speculation on my part. I know nothing.
Well, if you're looking to leave a legacy and do great things, if you're that player that's ultimately going to, be a professional, and that's your dreams and aspirations, then it's going to happen when it's going to happen. NIL deals weren't legal when I was in school, but we know that there was an NIL deals going around in different places. So when Tim Floyd chose to leave to go to the Chicago Bulls and Larry Stacey came in, to me, it was more important to, continue to carve out my legacy at Iowa State. And whenever the pros came calling, it was going to come calling. I was enjoying being a, collegiate athlete, student athlete, a kid. And when that time came, the time came. But up until then, there was no money being. People think all the time, there's no way Iowa State didn't pay you. Iowa State didn't pay me a dime, not one dime. Like the coaches wouldn't even give us a ride from Maple Willow Larch to the practice facility because that was considered an extra benefit. It didn't matter if it was, 2 millimeters of snow on the ground or 12 feet of snow. They said, you better get over here on time. You better leave early. So, like I said, for me, the legacy of being a part of that. My sophomore year, I was thinking to myself, walking through that snow, if I came to a university to get paid, I came to the wrong damn university. And that's verbatim what I said in my head, walking down that slope into the Hilton to practice. And for me, I understood, how much more it was going to be for my career remaining at Iowa State and having the history that we could have. And, in the next year, everything took off.
Well, if it's not about the money, certainly, I think that he could make a bigger name for himself and his personal brand. Forget Iowa State or Iowa, but going somewhere other than one of these big schools. Because if he goes to an Alabama, he will be a big man on campus for obvious reasons. He's one of the Alabama cogs, right? He's part of the machine. Yep. Where he goes to a school like an Iowa State that, frankly, who's going to be probably in the top 2, maybe top 3 in the conference next year? I mean, we've got a legitimate chance to be Big 12 football champions next year, be in the football playoff. You can't tell me that making a brand for yourself is going to be less than going to Alabama for your personal self. I'm not talking about the school. I'm talking for your personal self. Right. Something like this, I think, to your point, Marcus, should be much more appealing to a guy like a Caden Proctor than it would be going to Alabama.
Right. Yeah, without a doubt. Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, I get in. I go off on a tangent. So I just got a text message from Caitlin is watching this YouTube channel that's ranking March Madness basketball mascots. And when Iowa comes on, they show a picture of Iowa and, quote, they said, "This guy looks like an asshole." According to what Herky looks like, that's what the guy said when he described the Iowa mascot is,
wow,
this guy looks like an asshole. So little does that guy know that he doesn't really, he's not really involved in the NCAA tournament very often. So,
but well, and if we're going to take a team of 64 mascots, the Cyclone wins every time. I've never seen anything defeat a Cyclone.
That's I actually picked one of the brackets for the Three Beards Media brackets purely based on if a mascot fought another mascot, and the UAB Dragons won. So,
whoa! A Cyclone's going to take out a dragon every time, Chris.
No, that a Cyclone eventually is going to die out. That dragon is got way more stamina than.
No, it's Cyclone's
right.
Out first.
That's right.
Because the dragons are real.
Marcus, I hate to break it to you, this whole concept of the thought of that is not going to be real. You got to suspend a little bit of disbelief.
I think Chris, when he made this up, was a little bit getting with Puff the Magic Dragon doing his brackets.
I may or may not have had 2 or 3 Reveltons.
How are the brackets coming along? By the way, do you
what?
have a live looking of that?
I can. I will tell you that longtime follower Terry is winning the men's bracket by far.
All right.
We'll bring up the standings here. That's the women's one. We'll get to the women's one here in a second. Let me bring this up.
I had a very good first round with the women. I think I lost 2 games, but now Ohio State lost, and so I think they were in my Final Four.
Yeah. Terry Nykman is in number 1. John Christensen, who's another listener, is in second. JT Nutt, a member of the Three Beards Media family, third. Of course, he picked Auburn, so he's got no shot.
He's out.
He's out.
He picked Auburn to do what?
To win it.
Yeah, he sounds like Charles Barkley.
So you got to take chances like that, though. You're not going to win unless you take some chances.
There's quite a few people here that still have an open champion, but
like UConn,
Tennessee,
Houston,
Iowa State. Quite a few people picked Iowa State. Quite a few people picked Houston. Now, I will say, Houston currently is in a dogfight.
Yeah, they are.
They are 38-41 at the half. So with Texas A&M. So. And then the women's bracket, and we had 100 brackets inserted for the Three Beards Media, so I'm super proud
that's
of that.
competitive.
That's we for sure. So
was one of those 100 your little Puff the Magic Dragon one?
It was, yes.
Okay, so how many did you do? Did you do?
I did 3. I did 3.
3.
You can do 3. I allowed up to 3 brackets done. So I took Texas in the women's.
Yeah, I could see that.
And there was 76 entries there. So
I don't think no one's stopping at South Carolina freight train at this point.
I don't know.
I think they've had their close scares.
Yeah.
Already from losing, and I think they're, but Texas is tough for sure.
I don't think they're happy with last year either, losing. Didn't they lose to Iowa in the Final Four?
Yeah, and then LSU won it. Yeah.
Yeah, LSU that was a tight first half for them. I was a little surprised against Middle Tennessee State. Then they came out.
I thought they might lose that. I thought they might lose that game today. All I know is that Melody Brown for Texas she looks silky smooth and like she can't ever miss a shot. She looks amazing. So that's why I chose Texas based off of one player. But then again, I once picked Cal to win the whole thing when they had Jason Kidd, and that shows you how much I knew. So
We all have our moments, Chris.
I know, right?
All right. So we're going to let everybody go for the night. We've got a big women's game that we want to focus our attention to. It's good to see both of you. Brent, play it safe. We'll see you in a couple of weeks after your NC State team is done playing in the tournament. And that's been another episode of In the Side of the Storm. We'll see you next time.
Go Cyclones.
Goes.